It's time for Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. Headlines on Newsnight is brought to you by Eden Heights. Eden Heights, welcome home. In this edition, the growing calls for government to withdraw the white paper of the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election violence commission report.
In our view, the government white paper puts to bed and to rest and a terminal death the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act.
We as CSOs are particularly not impressed with the general position of government on the report. We therefore give government a 1-week ultimatum to change its position on the report.
Tonight, we explore the legality of this call. Also, in spite of several claims of NHIS arrears being cleared, Christian Health Association of Ghana, CHAG, is raising red flags about the impact of up to 9 months arrears owed them by the NHIA.
About 198 facilities have submitted claims up to August 2019. If the payments do not come and there's so much arrears, we cannot still provide the services that we are supposed to provide.
We'll hear from them as they warn that the entire healthcare system could collapse if proper measures are not put in place to pay service providers. Residents of South Dai in the Volta region block major road amidst burning of tires to protest the deplorable state of road networks.
And in business, Bank of Ghana's international reserves set to hit $9.4 billion from next month. We explore the implications of this for the economy and businesses.
We have all that and more, plus sports here on Newsnight. You may want to join us with your thoughts and comments via WhatsApp on 0244 340 437.
My name is Evan Samenta.
And I am MF Apau. And Newsnight is brought to you by Puma Card from Puma Energy, cash-free convenience. And tonight, private legal practitioner, we're talking about the growing calls for the immediate withdrawal of the government white paper. The number of CSOs have joined those calls. And tonight also, private legal practitioner Martin Pebu says there are legitimate grounds behind the call by the civil society organizations on government to withdraw its white paper, responding to recommendations of the Emil Short Commission report on the Ayawaso West Wuogon parliamentary by-election. The group has given a 7-day ultimatum to government, and they say the rejection of key findings and recommendations could either embolden security operatives to assault citizens or urge citizens to take the law into their own hands. Government white paper was met with criticisms from security analysts and the opposition NDC amidst concerns that the key recommendations, such as a prosecution of an operative who assaulted an MP, were rejected. Chairman of the Coalition of Civil Societies Against Political Vigilantism, Mensa Thompson, says government got it wrong.
Government's decision to reject some of the recommendations is practically flawed, considering how much evidence already exists in the public domain. We have videos, we have tapes, and a lot of evidences are already in the public domain. And so people have a fair idea the extent of the violence, the extent of the damages and that occurred. And so we believe that this is dangerous and could be a recipe for disaster, considering government's posture. For example, government decision to reject the recommendation to prosecute the operative who assaulted the sitting member of parliament for Ningo Pram Pram, Honorable Sam George, because there was some provocation in itself is quite provocative, and to a large extent creates the impression of a tacit government approval for the assault and other forms of violence that happened at Ayawaso West Wuogon. This could be described as government condoning and supporting violence. We are therefore calling on government to rescind its decision not to prosecute that operative. We as CSOs are particularly not impressed with the general position of government on the report. We therefore give government a 1-week ultimatum to change its position on the report, accept the findings and recommendations of the report, come up with a roadmap for the thorough implementations of the recommendations, and to instill confidence in the security agencies and also into the public that at every point in time during the 2020 elections, the state will protect everyone equally in furtherance of the peace and stability of this country. After the 1-week ultimatum, we shall serve notice for further action.
Well, the minority in Parliament is also taking a strong position on the matter. Harun Edrisu, who is a minority leader, indicated his side is considering all legal options to challenge the white paper because the president abuses discretionary powers.
The white paper issued by the president to the Ayawaso West Wuogon violent, unprecedented violent, is not only shameful and disappointing, but repugnant to natural justice, and a slap on the constitutional provision which requires the president to be candid and fair in the exercise of discretionary power. We are not only disappointed by the white paper seeking to exonerate one or two of his own, but it clearly demonstrates that the president has no moral authority to fight vigilantism. In our view, the government white paper puts to bed and to rest and a terminal death the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act. I do not see how effective and functional that legislation will be in our country. If it's unable to punish its own, it is always easy and convenient to punish political opponents. We all have collectively agreed that vigilantism, monetization, eroding confidence in the electorate remains the gravest threat to our multi-party constitutional democracy. One would have expected that President Nana Addo Dankwa would not lose the moral right in fighting vigilantism as he promised to a bill that he assented to only a fortnight ago. We are considering other options, looking at the constitutional requirement which allows him to exercise discretionary manner in a manner which is not capricious. But we are terribly, terribly disappointed. If he is freeing his own, it clearly demonstrates that he lacks the wit, he lacks political wit to fight vigilantism, and we do not see how functional and operational the new legislation that he himself, in the State of the Nation address to Parliament, even sought to preempt the findings of the Commission and the consequence white paper he has so issued when he so entrusted to the Ghanaian people that first he wanted moral situation. I do not think that he can count on our cooperation in this matter.
And the government's defense is that the white paper, in fact, as the Constitution prescribes, gives him the power to do what exactly he has done, and that they cite many white papers under the previous government NDC in which many positions a commission had posited and recommended had been rejected. They say this is nothing new. It is just a constitutional mandate exercised by the president.
And I have indicated to you, you can look at Article 286, I may not get it appropriate, or 296, where discretionary power is vested on the president. It should be exercised in a manner which is fair. We do not think that he has respected the tenets of the Constitution on this matter. A repeat of the wrongs of the past, that justification must stop from this political administration. He himself, in Parliament, indicated that he was determined to fight vigilantism. How can he fight vigilantism with this attitude of lack of wit, lack of political wit, to punish people known by their conduct, visible to the Ghanaian people?
So that's the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, speaking to you, Evans Mensah, there on this particular issue, the government white paper, and whether it should be withdrawn or not, and also the legal options available to them that they wish to explore. But let's bring in Mensah Thompson. He's the chairman of the Coalition of Civil Societies Against Political Vigilantism. They have given government a 7-day ultimatum to withdraw that white paper. Also on the line is Mr. Martin Pebu, who is a private legal practitioner. We're grateful for your time here on Newsnight, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Mr. Martin Pebu, because of the legal issues that have come up. To start with, it's been established that the president or the government is not bound to accept all the findings or recommendations by a commission that it puts together or sets up. But we've had the coalition, for instance, following the release of this white paper, a number of criticisms as to why the government has rejected a number of the recommendations that they put out. We've heard them today say that they've given government 7 days to withdraw that white paper. Is it even backed by law?
Well, the response for the withdrawal, yes, it's within the government's right to withdraw the white paper if, upon further reflection, they think that, the request by the citizens is reasonable. You know, being human beings, we are bound to make mistakes. Because, what happened was that before I agreed to do this interview, I asked to watch the tape again. That's a video of the incident. And so I'm talking specifically about the government's rejection of the recommendation that Mr. Suleimana be prosecuted. When you watch the video, you will see that at the material time that he slapped Sam George, it was the case that Sam George was making allegations against them. So he got down from the pickup, came down, and then upon interrogating Sam George, of course, interrogation is not the right way, but let's just say exchanging a few words with him, then he slapped Sam George. So at that point, I don't see any reason why there can be any reason to prevent a prosecution. It wasn't as if he was working. It wasn't as if Sam George had gone to obstruct him in the line of duty. No. He got down from the pickup, came down. You see, asked Sam George a few questions. Okay, or let's say there were some exchanges. And then, bam, he slapped him.
So for you, the reason cited, which is provocation, does not stand?
Oh, the least said about provocation, the better. It's unsustainable. Not in the least. We can't use that word provocation. You see, and you see, in law, for us lawyers, when you use the word provocation, it has a very technical meaning. The provocation is used when, let's say, somebody is murdered, and then you can show that the murder wasn't intentional. So if the murder wasn't intentional, then but the person was provoked into killing the other person, then the offense of the murder is reduced into manslaughter, or less to the person, instead of being convicted for murder, is convicted for manslaughter. And the difference would be that if you were convicted for murder, he would be he would suffer death as a penalty. But if it's manslaughter, it could range from any number of days up to life imprisonment. You see, so but provocation doesn't apply in this case because there's not been death. So death is the defining event for provocation to come in. So if somebody, no matter how scurrilous somebody or somebody's abused you, you can't hit the person and say you did it in provocation. Of course, what the attorneys talk about is in ordinary English language, mean that the person has angered you. Yes. In ordinary English language, we understand that to mean somebody has angered you. But in law, it's no excuse.
Mr. Kwebu, can any civil society organization, as has been suggested, you've mentioned, can they challenge this government white paper in court, as you've threatened to do? Is there precedent for this? And how do you go about doing that?
In this particular case, I haven't, not off the top of my mind, I don't remember any instance in which some persons have had to challenge the government white paper in the past. Yes. There have been a few, but I had very little time to research. Maybe
the minority is also suggesting that it will take legal action. You say that yes, both positions can be articulated in the court of law.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, they can be.
Let me bring in Mr. Mensah with the coalition of civil societies against vigilantism. They held a press conference today to make that particular issue, that particular ultimatum. Mr. Mensah, you say at the end of 7 days, if the commission's report is not withdrawn, you are going to pursue this matter in court. Is this something that you've already spoken to your lawyers about?
Yes, exactly. We've referred the matter to our legal team, who are extensively looking at the merits of the case and our options. We are just not also looking at legal actions. We are also looking at other civil actions, in the coming days, because it is important that as CSOs, we wake up and demand justice also for the affected victims and people who lost their properties or one thing or the other during this whole entire violent confrontation. It is also important that we also, take steps to address the concerns that the public have raised, on this particular white paper and some of the rationalizations that has come up, in rejection of some of the recommendations. And particular one that has come from the public, which we have picked up, is government decision not to prosecute the operative who assaulted, the sitting member of parliament. And the public are afraid for their lives because if an operative can assault a sitting member of parliament and the state will see no reason to prosecute that operative, then what will happen if the same operative assaults a common civilian or
Mr. Mensa, apart from that example you cite, which other part of this white paper is so offensive to you that you want all of it withdrawn? Is that the only part you cite, or the entire white paper it's not even worth the ink on which is written?
Yes, the entire white paper, we want it withdrawn. And this is because if you read the entire white paper, the impression you get is that the government is trying to tell us what they think happened at Ayawaso West Wuogon. Meanwhile, it is because of the fact that we want to know what happened. That is why we inaugurated a commission.
But government is not obliged. Government is not. It's not obliged to accept every single recommendation of the commission. In fact, our history is littered with many commissions and white papers that has rejected many aspects of the commission's report.
Yes, Evans. I find this rationalization particularly flawed because you cannot compare the white paper issued on the matter of corruption to a white paper or a report of Commission of Inquiry into a matter of national security. In this particular Ayawaso West incident, there is enormous evidence available in the public domain already. The public already has evidence. Some are eyewitnesses. The public experienced vividly. And so if you come up and issue a white paper that is particularly different from what the public themselves witnessed, then it's either government is living in self-denial or government is deliberately trying not to ensure that people who suffered one way or the other got justice.
So, Mr. Thompson, let me come in quickly. I would want to find out what your ideal white paper will be then.
You see, the rationale behind the Commission of Inquiry was to make an impartial determination of what happened at Ayawaso West Wuogon, make recommendations that will guide the state to ensure that what happened do not happen again. And if you read the report of the Justice Emery Short Commission, we believe that the report fully satisfied that requirement. The report made impartial findings and very good recommendations, which we believe that if government is committed towards the fight against political violence and its related vigilantism practices, then government will accept these findings, take steps to implement them to ensure that what happened at Ayawaso West Wuogon do not happen again. But if government does not do that, and government attempts to rationalize its own rejection of the report, then government could potentially embolden these operatives to cause more havoc during election periods.
Mr. Mensa, you make that point. Let me quickly bring in Mr. Pubu. Mr. Pubu, it's beyond doubt and controversy that the government, according to the law and the constitution, has the right and the mandate to do what exactly they've done, which is reject parts of the commission's report and accept others. Is it not?
Yes, Evans, that's perfectly right. But me, usually, I'm an optimist. You remember just recently, the president appointed the head of somebody as the chairman of the board of the GRA, the ex-maritime board. You remember, Maritime Authority Board, the chairman. The people complained, and eventually His Excellency listened, and we threw him and replaced him with Professor Ade. So for me, in the same vein, and also you remember the appointment of the special prosecutor, Mr. Martin Amidu. None of us thought the position was going to Mr. Amidu. People kept saying that no, they didn't want Mr. Akoto-Ampao because it filtered in that he was the one that was going to be appointed. I could give other examples. So I have seen situations where the president has listened. So for me, I think we should push and see. I won't be surprised that we could get a good outcome.
I'm grateful that you joined us. I'm grateful that you joined us with your thoughts, gentlemen. That is Martin Kpebu. He's a paralegal practitioner. Also, you had earlier there Mr. Mensa, who heads the civil society organizations against vigilantism. So listen to Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. The Christian Health Association of Ghana charges tonight, warning that the entire healthcare system faces an imminent collapse if proper measures are not put in place to address the challenge of piled arrears.
Now, according to Dr. James Duyan, the Deputy Executive Director of CHAG, which also happens to be one of the largest grouping of service providers for the National Health Insurance Authority. Their members are owed arrears spanning all the way to the year 2018, and the impact is telling. Listen to Dr. Duyan speaking to Super Morning Show host Daniel Datsey.
Over the past 2-3 months, we had assurance from National Health Insurance that on weekly basis, payments are going to be made to facilities in an attempt to clear the debt. And so you have payments that are made for 2 months arrears, 3 months arrears. It used to be from about July. Now they've paid up to December. And we have been promised that in the next few weeks, our facilities are going to be paid up to March.
Oh, okay.
Up to March of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We hope it will continue. Given the past history of payment, we hope that pattern continues.
But then again, March 2019 is still 6 months ago. So if you were medical director at a hospital, what does that mean for how you run your business? The fact that you haven't been paid for so long. What then happens at the hospital?
So if the payments are made up to March, technically speaking, what it will mean that we have arrears of about 4 months, because the law mandates that pay claims that are submitted within 90 days.
Okay.
So as I speak to you now, about 198 facilities have submitted claims up to August 2019. Now, given that all those facilities are submitted up to August 2019, it means that technically speaking, NHI owes us up to about June. Maybe because
it's 90 days, so it's June, July, August. So June. So
those payments should come so that, the gap closes. Now, if the payments do not come and there's so much arrears, what it means is that we cannot still provide the services that we are supposed to provide.
So if I go to the hospital, what happens?
Well, over the years, what facilities have done is to take overdraft, buy medicines and all that. But, that cannot continue. So essential medicines will still not be available. Some services will still not be able to be provided.
So they've been going to take loans to try and keep their businesses afloat, try and buy medicines and give them to patients until they get the monies with which they can repay the loans?
Yes, so there are two ways. Some facilities take overdrafts to get these consumables, essential medicines to provide the services. And the other way is that the pharmaceutical companies give medicines to facilities over a long period of time. In essence, in a way, the pharmaceutical companies have been financing the health sector for some time now, because they give medicines and they're able to provide a long period of time for facilities to make payment, sometimes as long as 8 months, 6 months, 1 year. And in a way, that has led to another big problem which I think we must try to address. Prices of medicines have gone very high, to the extent that the prices that are being paid by National Health Insurance are lower than the prices that we are getting the medicines from the market.
You have Dr. James Dua. He's the Deputy Executive Director of the Christian Health Association of Ghana, CHAG. We're privileged to be joined on the phone by the Deputy CEO in charge of operations for the National Health Insurance Authority to give us some answers about this piled arrears. Madam Vivian Adokobia joins us on the line. Hello, Madam Vivian Adokobia. Hello, Mrs. Adokobia. Okay, looks like we've lost Mrs. Adokobia there on the phone, but we'll try and reach her again for some answers to this issue about piled arrears. But elsewhere, authorities of the National Health Insurance Scheme in the Bono region are clamping down on facilities alleged to be engaged in illegal charging of fees. One of such health facilities is the Holy Family Hospital in the Brekum municipality. Joining us is Bono regional correspondent Precious Semevo, was part of the scheme's monitoring team, and here's his report read to you.
Based on a tip-off from aggrieved customers, the National Health Insurance Authority stormed the Holy Family Hospital in the Brekum municipality to ensure their clients are not billed for services the scheme is paying for. George Opondankwa is the Bono Regional Operations Manager of the National Health Insurance Authority.
We went to the cash point where he was supposed to pay, and we asked the person who is supposed to collect the money the reason why they were collecting that money. and she said that it was management decision. So we had very serious interaction with them, and we have concluded that henceforth nobody is supposed to pay anything that is supposed to be captured free under national health insurance. And we are also making sure that all those who are supposed to be discharged today and their condition and their drugs are in national health insurance, they will go home free. They are not going to pay anything.
Information available to Joy News after the closed-door meeting indicates officials of the Holy Family Hospital, Brekum, unilaterally took the decision to take extra charges and still process claims to the scheme for payment. They claim the cost of services provided is more than what they are paid. Brekum Municipal Health Insurance Manager Emmanuel Jan told Joy News attempts to get the hospital halt the alleged illegal charges have fallen on deaf ears.
People come to our office with receipts. We have been here with the team from the region on several occasions. We just met them 3 weeks ago. We talked about this same issue, thinking that at least there will be put a hold onto it. And look as if they are still doing.
Some clients blamed the healthcare providers for the challenges of the insurance scheme with a call on government to correct the anomalies.
So that's a Precious Semivos report there read to you. And we've been joined on the phone back by the Deputy CEO in charge of operations, Mrs. Vivian Adokobia. We're grateful for your time here on Newsnight. So there are growing concerns about piled arrears. We've just heard from CHAG's Deputy Executive Director, for instance. It's spanning all the way to 2018. What really is the challenge with clearing these arrears when we've been told that they've actually been cleared?
Good evening, MFA, and good evening to your cherished listeners. The arrears, as he just spoke about, as I speak with you now, National Health Insurance has been able to pay the upper tier facilities. Our facilities have been categorized into two groups. We have the lower tier and we have the upper tier facilities. The lower tier facilities are the CHIPS compounds, health centers, and maternity homes and small clinics. Then we have the upper tier facilities, like the teaching hospitals, tertiary hospitals, as well as the secondary hospitals and primary hospitals. So we've paid the upper tier facilities as to December 2018. Hello?
I'm listening, but you're talking about the upper tier facilities. How about the lower tier facilities? And which category does CHAG fall in?
MFA, the lower tier facilities, we are paid up to February 2019. And as I speak with you, even today, we have made some payments to the tune of 13.2 million cedis to lower and upper tier facilities, of which CHAG facilities, some of them are within this category that I'm speaking with you right now. We have over 4,500 facilities across the country, credentialed to provide services to our cherished members. And 7% of these facilities constitute facilities that are within the CHAG membership. So some of these facilities are within this category, and we are paying today. Some of them are being paid January and February claims today, as I speak with you. And as Dr. Dia rightly said, we make weekly payments. We made some payments on Friday. Yesterday was a holiday. Today we have made payment to the tune of 13.2 million.
But you mentioned some time back that you're going to reduce turnaround time to 3 months. But what happened? Because the last time you paid, you're telling us, is February 2019. And how are these facilities supposed to continue operating when they are owed so much by your outfit?
And the fact that the delays can't be contributed to just the claims processing and payment. Some of the facilities submit their claims so late. But immediately they submit their claims, they will count it as health insurance having owed them. So if you submit, if you have your claims, you submit your claims today, and we are in September. So if you submit about June claims in September, and you expect national health insurance to pay today, it will be impossible. So we urge the facilities to also submit their claims on timely basis, because it takes some process before these claims are being processed for reimbursement. And we have funds to pay, as he rightly said. We have funds to pay up to March or even April. We are still processing the claims, and the payments will be made. We have a very good relationship with CHAG. So if they have issues, we just sit down and have discussions on it and see the best possible way forward.
So, do we know when exactly you would clear all the arrears? Because we are in February. You've paid up to February now, and we have just about how many months more to go. So, when are you hoping to clear all the arrears that you owe?
Talking about arrears, as he also made mention that we have to the law mandates us to owe up to 3 months. So, if you take it back, we have arrears up to May to pay. We are still processing. We have funds, we have money to pay up to May, as we are talking of, and even beyond.
Okay, we are grateful for your time here on Newsnight. That's the Deputy CEO in charge of operations at the National Health Insurance Authority, Mrs. Vivian Adokobia.
Still ahead here on Newsnight, the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry says opinion leaders and school authorities continue to complain about the drug menace in schools as a 10-member committee is inaugurated to deal with the situation. Details of that after Business. George, you know the drug problem in schools when you were in school. When you were in school,
our authorities
the Intampit was good.
Not necessarily. I
mean, are you saying that you never heard of the?
No, I heard about it. But I'm just saying that
it
was a problem across all the secondary schools and not just our
not
school.
All the secondary schools.
Really?
Well, I bet to differ.
Your school?
No,
MFS school. They do.
I bet to differ.
They do poker.
But the thing was that the authorities tried their best to control the thing.
Yes,
it was a big problem.
No, MFA is right when she says not all schools, because her school, instead of doing the weed, they were doing poker.
Not in my time.
And so, what was the level of counseling in these schools as well, and even the peer groups and all those things to help some of these students come out of it? It's a big challenge.
Yeah. When we return from business, we'll talk about the committee, a 10-member committee set up by the Interior Ministry to deal with that particular crisis in our schools when it comes to illicit drugs. What do you have the headlines?
Well, in business, Evans, the Bank of Ghana's International Reserve set to hit $9.4 billion from next month, looking at the impact on the economy and for businesses. The projection that it could even hit $10 billion before the end of this year. And President Akufo-Addo approves a new national policy to better check activities of money laundering and financing of terrorism in the country. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
So everyone says I'm a Kosia filler, but it's not like I'm nosy or go out to find out the latest filler. It's just that I get 50 megabytes of data free after paying for only the first minute of every call. And so I just keep discovering stuff minute after minute. That's how come I was minding my business, scrolling through my timeline, and I found out Coco has a new baby. Oh, and last week, I learned Ken won the lottery. You see, Ken is my brother's friend. So hello, look who's about to roll with the rich and famous.
Enjoy even more value with MTN Free After One. You only pay for the first minute of your call on MTN Free After One, and the rest is free. Plus, you enjoy free 50 megabytes worth of data to browse your favorite sites. Compare where, compare there. So dial *315# to sign up. We day for you everywhere you go. Terms and conditions apply.
The Kingdom Books this year back to school promotion is in conjunction with Citidia Supermarket. Buy school items worth 100 Ghana cedis from Kingdom Books and get 12% discount voucher to purchase from Citidia and vice versa. School items include textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books across all Kingdom Books branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, and Cape Coast. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability is assured. For further information, call 0302 764209 or 0302 746101 and 0501 401050. Terms and conditions apply.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Welcome back to Business on News 9. And the Bank of Ghana's international reserves could hit some high levels from next month. Now, this was after the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, projected the reserves hitting $9.4 billion from next month. But why should we be excited about this development? The following Business Desk report has more.
The increase in the Bank of Ghana's reserves to these high levels are as a result of the $1.3 billion of the cocoa loan syndicate hitting its accounts next month. Dr. Ernest Addison is governor of the Bank of Ghana and has been given more details on the reserves position.
On reserves, yes, we're getting 1.3 billion from cocoa. We are currently at 8.1. All things being equal, we should be getting to 9.4. If there are other flows other than cocoa, maybe even higher, unless, of course, we have some energy payments to do, which would also reduce the numbers.
The first tranche of $650 million would hit the Bank of Ghana's accounts in first week of October. The last time the central bank reserves hit some high levels was in March this year, when it reached $9.9 billion. The reserves can be described as a foreign currency account of the Bank of Ghana, made up of cash and other assets. They normally would want to use to support or finance a country's export and import needs, as well as monetary policy. Now, a strong reserve could give investors and businesses some assurance that the central bank is in a strong position to come onto the market and support the Ghana cedi. A development that could ward off activities of speculators and those that want to bet on reserves. The local currency has seen some stability over the past weeks, trading at around 5 cedis, 51 pesos. For some businesses, their major challenge with the local currency is the daily blips of volatility rather than it hitting levels that could be described as worrying. Data from the Bank of Ghana shows that since the beginning of this year, the cedi has
We are sorry for that little mix-up there. Let's go on to other stories. And President Akufo-Addo has given approval to a new policy that would help better regulate and check activities of money laundering and financing of terrorism activities in the country. The policy that was actually released by the Public Financial Intelligence Center is expected to coordinate all the relevant agencies in the country to actively combat these crimes. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is expected to chair the committee that will coordinate all these activities. In a related development, the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says this development demonstrates government's full commitment to implement policies that would help better fight these crimes in the country. Document is coming at a time that the country recently moved up 6 places to 60 in the latest anti-money laundering rankings put together by the Basel Institute. Now, government says it does not support proposals for it to focus heavily on the services sector following its recent sterling performance. The Ghana Fiscal Service data over the past 5 years has shown that the services sector is a major driver of the country's growth. It commands more than half of the size of the economy in terms of activities. Now, there are calls that following these performances, there should be a lot more resources allocated to this sector to help actually triple its growth. The Deputy Minister of Finance, Abinal Sari, tells Joy Business she doesn't think that concentrating on one sector is helpful.
I think that there should be a balance, and that is why, like my minister said, that the 2020 budget is going to be on industrialization, because after growing the services sector, we would need to industrialize to firm things up. We cannot only depend on the services sector. One, we're already working on the agri sector through the Plan for Food and Jobs. Thankfully, the whole of last year, Ghana didn't import maize as a result of this policy that has come in and has increased yield so much. And so 2020 is going to focus on industrialization, just like my minister said. So there should be a balance, and that is what we will work to achieve.
Deputy Minister of Finance, Abinal Sari. Now, the Commercial Division of the High Court has set 26th of this month to rule on whether it has a jurisdiction on the case brought by UniCredit Savings and Loans. Here is Eben Sabute's report.
According to the Bank of Ghana lawyers, the matter should have been handled at arbitration level before deciding to proceed to court. However, lawyer for UniCredit Savings and Loans argues that there is a breach of natural justice in the action taken by the Bank of Ghana. The High Court Judge, Justice George Kumson, has set 26 September to rule on whether the decision was proper or not. In a related development, lawyers for the receiver of the savings and loans companies has objected to an application served by Group Indum. This follows a directive by the court last week to properly serve the receiver in the case filed to terminate the liquidation process for GN Savings and Loan. The court is therefore adjourned the 26th to begin hearing from both sides. Member of the Group Indum Council, Kofi Asamoah gave a brief on the next hearing.
On Thursday, if they file their response, then the judge is seized with all the responses from all the parties to be able to make a judgment or adjourn to make a judgment. And the second thing that is likely to be done is to hear the preliminary objection that the Attorney General had filed. Interestingly, Counsel for Bank of Ghana, Mr. Frank Davis, also said he had also put in a preliminary legal objection application before the judge.
Meanwhile, the Attorney General has also filed a response to the application by Group Indum. Ibn Saputis report for Joy Business.
And finally, manufacturing giant Liver has indicated that it expects a reduction in its turnover for the third quarter of this year and possibly for the full financial year. In a notice to its investors, Liver warned that the development was as a result of the recent banking sector cleanup and the recent economic environment, which has impacted badly on its activities. The development is expected to also affect the distribution across the country. Now, last year, the firm posted a profit of 143 million Ghana cedis, and it was expecting to actually grow that number for this year, but due to this uncertainty, it thinks things might not be good in the third quarter and even for the full year. And that's coming from a consumer goods giant Liver warning that these are the problems that is expected to hit the company going forward. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Thank you very much, George Riafe. And that's such a worry, because knowing that they produce most of the consumables that we use at home, we'll see how that goes. But the impact is serious.
It's quite bad.
Yeah, quite bad there. Thank you very much, George. Now, Interior Minister Ambrose Derry says the opinion leaders and school authorities continue to complain about the use of illicit drugs by young people in their institutions. Addressing journalists after the inauguration of a consultative committee to combat the drug menace in schools, he stated that President Akufo-Addo is concerned about the situation, hence the formation of the committee tasked to examine the abuse of illicit drugs and also submit proposals for combating it.
A lot of concerns, because the way students behave sometimes, you just see them either they're quiet and reserved from there to explosion. And I can tell you that in my own constituency, in Nandom, I went there and I was going around the schools, second cycle schools, presenting computers to them. And I was shocked. You could see somebody just gazing at you, and you knew there was something wrong. So later that night, I asked the security guys to go on a scoop, and they arrested many people and confiscated Tramol from them, and it became a thing. So these are things that reports, the intelligence institutions have reported, individuals have reported, chiefs have complained, teachers, and I believe that even you can tell me something about that. The first group of drugs are those that we've got laws against, like cannabis, cocaine, and what have you. But there are also others that are just a misapplication of otherwise useful medicines, like Tramol and these codeine mixtures and what have you. And so, Mr. Excellency the President thought, look, this is a matter that must be tackled head on. And the way to do it is actually to make sure that we get stakeholders, people with expertise, to sit together, critically analyze the problem, and come out with proposals.
Interior Minister Ambrose Derry.
We'll be interrogating this a bit more on the morning show and also on our subsequent bulletins, the approach to dealing with this problem. But the management of Jospond Group of Companies says the military takeover of the Great Consolidated Diamonds Ghana Limited, popularly known as the Akwatia Mine, is unlawful. Now, according to the company, the reasons for the action based on a misrepresentation of agreed terms between the two. In a statement, the company said the action by the State Interest and Governance Authority was illegal, unconstitutional, and regrettable. Now, Group Head of Communications at the Jospond Group of Companies, Sophia Lissa, has been explaining the company's position. She spoke on the Pulse on the John News Channel.
So on 18th, which is Thursday last week, we had the information that some military, police and BNI people led by the State Interest and Governance Authority had taken over, Akwantia mines. And there was a story also in the graphic on Friday speaking to that issue. But our story is that the people, they went there, took the phones of the people on the grounds, the security guys, and then went to homes, and any car that came in, they seized it and all that, So they just entered the facility, seized every asset, and then said they had taken over and that they have put in place a new management. And we thought that was a bit uncomfortable and a bit unfortunate, because Akwatia Diamond was put on the Divestiture Implementation Committee, and the Justborn Group, through the Ghana Consolidated Diamond, Company Limited, bought it, off government. That's in 2011, and we've been running it till now. And there are laid down procedures. There is a sales and purchasing agreement that is guiding this particular, transaction. So you would expect that this will be followed. Now, in April this year, we had a letter from the DIC, which is the main organization that we're dealing with on this particular issue, stating that they wanted to abrogate this contract with us. And we said, no, you cannot just abrogate it because there are laid down procedures.
Why do they want to abrogate the contract? What do they say?
Well, they raised a couple of issues, including the funding, the 17 million that the facility was sold for. So they wanted to abrogate that transaction. But then we said that that is not what was detailed in the sales and purchase agreement. So we took it to court for the court to come in and determine what should be done. And the government also raised a statement of defense for this particular issue. So for us, the issue is in court, and we expect that the court will come out with the final determination, and then we will know the way forward. But while this is going on, and if you go in with military, like that to take over, it's a bit uncomfortable because.
And meanwhile, the Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority says the claim by the Justborn Group is false. Speaking on our sister station at Dome FM, Stephen Asamoah-Boateng revealed that monies allegedly paid by Justborn to acquire the mine cannot be traced.
I don't know all this cabinet is illegal. I don't. I'm going to go to I don't know me like that. What's on the day when I watch it? Not all illegal. And I want to know.
Say, Operation Chese already move court. It will need to
one particular clause I will still want you to understand. Clause 13 of the agreement signed on the 6th of May 2011. Signed. Clause 13 says you will undertake as a condition of this offer to you that in the event that the DIC has incontrovertible evidence that you are unable to, or that you have defaulted or in breach of any of the terms of this offer, including payment terms, adherence to the scheduled work program, and to your business plans such as proposed investments in Ghana Consolidated Diamond, employment targets, and environmental plans, the DIC will reserve the right to re-enter, repossess, or abrogate any agreement with you. You agree? The court assembly can this and there or court you see that the matter was thrown out.
But are you aware of several investments that won't take you over 1 year?
Well, if you have a menu cameras, actually, that investment, 1 point out investment away in 1 year. I call last week, I should share you in track where the receipts are about some receipts. I can read some receipts. You say, Federal Mexican Assembly, the breaks.
But the other point is
and tracking the deposit of the money.
So you have a receipt to that effect, but tracking the money is not.
I can tell you, there's a receipt for 1.7 million dated the 5th of June 2011. Yes, there's a receipt. There's a receipt for Union Savings Loans 320 Ghana cedi on the 15th of March 2015. There's a difference between getting a receipt, or maybe it will be receipt. That's why I'm even surprised that those who were at DIC at that time, receipts now was the money, on the proof of deposit the money to consolidate anyway.
So that's Stephen Asamoah Boateng there, who says tomorrow he's heading to the mine to inspect things again for himself. He's taking the media along to prove his case that investments required have not really been made, and the state had every power to take over the mine, which belongs to the Jospon Group of Companies owned by Joseph Siam Ejipon. Stay with us as we follow this story. Let's do some sports now. What's in sports tonight?
Yeah, Lionel Messi starting a game for Barcelona for the first time this season after suffering a calf injury.
Also after winning the men's best player of the world.
Player of the year.
Oh, you know, when I read that story, I'm thinking to myself, what will Ronaldo be thinking right now? I mean, because at his age, there's no way he can win a sixth one.
Six.
You know, so this is 6-5.
6-5.
Undisputed
now.
6-6
next year.
You think Ronaldo
will win the Champions League with Juventus and win the FIFA Player of the Year?
Well, that's debatable. It's a huge if, but let's see what happens.
Okay, James FC owner Keto Kweku has unveiled his manifesto in his bid to become the new president of the Ghana Football Association. He is one of 7 individuals seeking to lead the association for the next 4 years. Keto Kweku's manifesto document is premised on 4 key principles:
transparency, accountability, and good internal audit system. We want to make sure that there is equity, gender equity. The idea is to promote a lot more involvement of women in football, administratively and also as players, to ensure that we reposition the product offering. We have a tainted image, whether we like it or not, and we need somebody with a skill, technique, and knowledge to ensure that we reposition the product called Ghana Football Association.
More on Keto Kweku's manifesto on Wednesday's edition of Sports Center. Before I go, Lionel Messi is starting again for the first time this season after recovering from a calf injury. The FIFA Player of the Year is in Barca's squad for tonight's La Liga game against Villarreal at Camp Nou. Barca are looking to bounce back after a shocking defeat at Granada on Saturday. In England, 8 Carabao Cup games are underway. Spurs are away to Colchester, and defending champions Man City are the guest of Preston. Arsenal will play against Nottingham Forest at the Emirates Stadium tonight. That's the latest in the world of sports. Back to you, Evans and MFA.
You've been missed. Thank you. And let's head to South Dai, my area. Residents there in the Volta region this morning bent tires and blocked major roads in Peve to protest the deplorable state of the district's road networks. Now, this was to impress on government to resume construction works on the Peki Hohoi stretch, which serves as a major haulage for food and commodities, and several other roads. The demonstration, endorsed and supported by the opposition National Democratic Congress, follows a social media campaign with the hashtag Fix Volta Roads Now, seeking government's immediate action on deplorable roads in the Volta region.
The furious demonstrators, mostly motorists, overpowered the police and touched ties they had laid at all 3 entry points to the district capital, Peve. They chanted and held placards with inscriptions including "Fix abandoned Volta roads. The abandoned roads are killing us. Nanado, bring the contractors back to site," among others. The demonstration, which lasted for about 2 hours, halted vehicular movements. Joshua Edem Tete is convener of Fix Abandoned Volta Roads Group, organizers of the demonstration.
Yeah, we are demonstrating because of the bad nature of our roads, especially the Eastern Corridor Road. The road is in a bad state. If you look at the road, it will take you about so many hours to get to wherever you are going. Now, these roads have been awarded by the previous government. When there was a change of government, there was a contract auditing, so the roads were stopped. Now, it has been almost 2.5 years now. The contractors were not brought back to site. So we are calling on the government to bring back the contractors on site. The roads is affecting our economic activities, our social life. So we are begging the government so that they come on board and help us and bring the contractors on board.
The members of parliament for South Dai and Afajatu South, Nelson Dafiamakpo and Angela Aloute, and some NDC Volta regional executives were spotted among the demonstrators. Some motorists and residents shared their frustration.
our roads are bad, very, very, very bad. The president himself, he traveled from Accra to Bokwe, telling us that all his bodies were paining him just because of the road. So imagine we those who are Opel and Hyundai and other buses. You can just imagine what will happen to us. Are we not Ghanaians? We are also Ghanaians. If he is in V8, a whole V8, and he's telling us that his body is paining him, he should consider us as human beings because we put him there. He should just come and fix the road for us. We are not talking about any NDC or MPP. We are demonstrating as drivers. So we want Nana Akufo-Addo and his road minister to come and fix the road for us.
Residents in South Tong district are also preparing to embark on a similar demonstration on the deteriorating state of the Sogakope Bridge on Thursday. Fred Kwame Asari's report for Joy News.
Her father was HIV positive, but for fear of stigmatization, he kept his status a secret from everyone, including his wife, who later became infected. As a result, Aisha, not her real name, was born HIV positive, but was diagnosed when she turned 8. Aisha is now 15 years, but can no longer go to school because of the intense stigma. Her story was featured in the latest Joy News Hotline documentary titled My Status. Faustina Safo has the rest of the story.
Aisha was born HIV positive. At age 3, Aisha's father died. Her mother relocated to a different town, leaving her with her aunt in Kumasi.
As a child, I used to fall sick all the time. My aunt took me to different hospitals, but they didn't seem to know what was wrong with me. My auntie took me to church. I slept there for almost 3 years. Then the pastor told us God revealed to him that I had HIV.
At the time, Aisha was too young to comprehend what she was going through. So her aunt kept it a secret until she became a teenager. Aisha is now living with her uncle here in Accra. She dropped out of school due to stigma.
The children used to insult me because of my status. They don't allow me to drink from their cup or eat from their plate, and it makes me feel bad. I just overlook it.
In 2013, the United Nations introduced what it calls the 1990 Agenda in an attempt to get the epidemic under control. Ghana is struggling to achieve the target. Director of the Ghana AIDS Commission, Stephen Treme Etwahene, explains why.
For the first 90, which relates to know your status, we have achieved 66.5%. For the second 90, we have achieved 45.5%.
You heard the Faustina Safo's report, and quickly, just before we go, some of your messages that you've sent in. Major in Kumasi says, when I first heard the news of attempted coup d'etat, the instant conclusion I drew was that this is simply diversionary. Nothing will come out of it. Don't forget General Mosquito's allegations against some MPP activists on some explosives found in Accra when the NDC was in power. It goes on and on. And AU Farouk in Tamale North, he says that why is government trying to put fear and panic in this country? MPP, your own shadow is chasing you today. Some more of your messages, and this one from Abuchi Philip in Keta, and he also says that, okay, that's quite a long message there that he sent, and he says, in fact, Kojo Nkrumah has been deceiving Ghanaians under the leadership of Nana Addo. We've lost confidence. Okay, so it goes on. Some of your messages that you've sent via WhatsApp on 0244340437, and that's all time will allow us in this edition of Newsnight. And the Geek Squad are up next, and guess what they're talking about?
What is it?
The CSSPS.
Well,
Computer
it's all about a computer placement system.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. My name is Evans Mensah.
I am MF Paul.